everyone, and welcome to the Mindwall podcast again. It's good to be back. We've been away for too long, 2 weeks that we've been busy with a lot of very interesting things, and we've managed to record quite a few episodes up front now. So you'll be happy to learn that Mindwall podcast is back, and there's going to be a lot of momentum. Today, Jean-Roux and I, who are of course your co-hosts of Mindwalk, are happy to be speaking to you together. We haven't done that for a while, have we, John?
Yeah, no. Good morning, MP. Looking forward to this. It's also right in the middle of winter already. And the last podcast was still, warm enough here in South Africa. Looking forward to the guests that we have. I can't wait for you to introduce them.
Absolutely. Just before I do, for those of our listeners who may be new to the Mindwalk podcast, Mindwalk is a play on everything that happens at speed, specifically in the world of digital mining, and everything that warps our minds, so new things, exciting things. And we really appreciate the time that you make to listen to our podcast. Please like and share as you wish, and comment, and also tell us if there are topics or people that you'd like for us to introduce to the audience or to have on our show. We'd love to hear from you.
MP, and this podcast is to talk to opinion makers, people that have changed the industry. And the two that we have today are busy changing the industry and have done so already.
Absolutely. So on that, let's introduce them. Today we've got Michael Ramstrom with us from Epiroc. And I'll let him introduce himself more in more detail. And of course, Peter Nel from MineRP as well. So from our perspective, the two heads of our new organization, and we're really looking forward to hearing more about this transaction between MineRP and Epiroc that many of you will have read about in the media over the past months. And we're looking forward to walk away understanding a lot more about all things digital and the strategies of these two companies. So without any further ado, let me introduce Michael Ramstrom, or let me rather ask you, Michael, welcome to Mindwalk. We'd love to hear a little bit more about yourself. What's your role in Epiroc, and how did you land up in this large industrial mining company, and so on? So over to you. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, MP, and thank you, Jan. I'm glad to be here, and it's been a very exciting start of the year 2021 for sure. And by the way, it's summer, it's not winter. I'm sitting here in Sweden, it's about 20 plus, and I'm really feeling the joy of summer coming here. So,
yeah, but 20 plus is winter in South Africa.
Okay, so you can have both winter and summer at the same time. Yeah, that's great. It's far up north here in Sweden, or sorry, in Europe, I would say. In Sweden, it's in the middle of Sweden. We have Epiroc in my hometown. I was born here in Örebro, is the town. And Epiroc has excellence center, factory, logistics center, and about 2,000 employees here. So it's actually the biggest employer in the city here is Epiroc.
It's the epicenter of Epiroc.
You can say that, absolutely. It's the epicenter. And I joined the company in 1999, so it's now almost 22 years since I started. Before that, I spent almost 10 years with the space industry in aerospace. Sweden is also active in the European Space Program with a lot of the environmental satellites, communication satellites, and then some other very secret satellites. It's all together in the European Space Agency, and one of the Swedish companies that is contributing to this program had a department where space computers for control systems and data handling was from this company, and all the software linked to that. So that was my start in my first career in Gothenburg as a rocket or space engineer. And then to go from space to mining, and especially underground mining, was quite a step for me in 1999. You can imagine up in space, the environment is tough. It's all these electronics are exposed to radiation, heat, vibrations, everything. And then you go to mining. And what do you find in mining? Well, pretty much the same environment, actually. It's warm, it's cold, it's vibrations, it's a very rough environment. The good thing with mining, though, is that you can actually access your equipment. You can repair, you can exchange. Once you send the satellite to space, there is nothing much more you can do. You have to have backups, you have to have a lot of support systems for whatever could happen in space. So it was a good starting point for me as a young engineer to have that in mind all the time. So what do we do if something goes wrong? We can't fix it. We can't just go there and fix it. We have to think about everything that can go wrong before it goes wrong.
Wow.
And we have to have a solution for that before it happens.
Wow.
So that kind of formed my thinking and going forward now into mining, that you can't just put stuff there and then think, well, let's fix it afterwards. For me, it's been like that. We have to consider the environment. We have to think about what could be this exposure, what is the needs, what can happen, and how can we have a solution for that as early as possible.
Mikael, that fits in quite well with Mine Warp. I didn't realize that. That's great to hear that. What role do you currently play, and what is your interest in MineRP?
So I'm now after these 20 plus years, I'm in a role in Epiroc that has to do with digital business. It's kind of a journey to come to this position for me, as starting as a project manager in Epiroc and then moving over into marketing and sales, and now ending up in digital business. But in that role that I have now, I'm looking after all the Epiroc digital business. That is a very growing and expansive area within Epiroc. After the acquisition of MineRP, we are about 350 people working in this area globally. So we have people more or less everywhere in the world, either selling, supporting, or doing the R&D in this area. Wow. So that's my responsibility. My formal title is Vice President Digital Business.
We also have our President and CEO of MineRP on the line. I think this is the first time, Peter, that we're bringing you on the podcast. You were too busy to talk to us up to now, and thank you for your hour that you put aside. Peter, introduce yourself. You are MineRP. Why do I say that, Peter?
Thank you, John, MP, to be part of the podcast. Peter Nel. Maybe before I start with my business journey, just something about Peter Nel self. If I need to summarize myself, I would like to say, firstly, I'm a man of God. That's very important for me. I'm a family man, and I'm passionate about nature. That's the three most important things for me, outdoor living. And all the things that I'm doing is always to support those three pillars in my life. So I'm just back where I start off, born in Pretoria in South Africa, grew up in Namibia, where first few years, very important part of my life was in the military, South African military. And at the age of 29, start off working for myself as a contractor in a business consulting company. And in that first year, I realized that I want to start my own businesses. I had a number of different type of businesses, from the restaurant business, shop fitting, building sport fields, producing things for the market from a farm, in consulting. Then in 97, when MineRP was formed still as GMSI, Graphic Mining Solutions International, I was in a consulting company, part of the process to exit GMSI, that's of the MineRP, out of Anglo-American Gold and Uranium Division. So the first few months, I was still a contractor in that space. Our consulting company was acquired by MineRP, and from there on, part of the business. I'm 24 years in the business, and the last 15 years the CEO of the business. And yeah, I want to say, if I say the fourth thing in my life that's critical for me is I'm a passionate guy about MineRP and the digital impact that we can have on the industry. So that's briefly who I am.
Peter, wow. Yeah, and I'm saying you are MineRP. You're also a very deliberate person, as you've explained to us. You have planned a strategy over a very long time about ending up where we have ended up. So tell us about the journey in landing up with Epiroc shortly.
Yeah, I was appointed as CEO in 2006, 1st of July. The first 18 months doing a lot of inbound checking, just seeing where we are as a company, and we realized that we need to handle data in the mining business differently. We developed a spatial database during that stage to see how to answer the difficult questions that we've got in mining around data. And then in 2008, with John McGannon, the CTO at that stage, we were developing a strategy to change the industry, all dependent on data. And from 2008 to about 2012, working within the current ownership structure with Kajima, it was quite difficult for us to build and change the business with the ownership structure. So we, in 2010, we realized that we need to do something in a different way. We put a plan in place that we need to change the business, and the plan was basically 4 strategic objectives that we've got. We also were saying that was to pivoting the business over 4 stages into the new form that we need to be. The first one was to exit from Kajima and then introduce a new business model away from the expert product environment and focusing on data. That's where we've got new ownership structures. Hasso Plattner, in his personal capacity as the founder of SAP, were 20% owner. And he helped us, and then of the new shareholders helped us to develop a platform. That was our second strategic objective of pivot that we were driving. It took us about 5 years on that. And then the third one was when we realized the platform is ready for us, for the market. We thought it was ready. One of our clients at that stage, Dundee Precious Metals of Canada, the operation in Bulgaria, in Chilopech, Rick House, as the CEO at that stage, said that, but there's more into this platform. And the third pivot for us was always to internationalize our business and the platform, the technology that we developed. And that was when we introduced the third pivot by externalize MineRP, get it an international focus on that, and also move our intellectual property to Canada. And that 3-year base period was for us to prove that the platform is ready for all mining methods. And then the last one, and that's where we are at this stage, was to grow the business. Now that we've got a platform that's ready for the market, that we know will change the digitalized environment of the mining industry, that pivot was all about growth, to see how we're going to grow the business. And we also realized that if we want to do that, we need to belong to a company that's got the vision, the strategy, the drive, also to support this digital initiative and drive that we've got in the business. We spent some time finding the right home. There was a number of good companies that were interested in us. And from the first engagement that we had with Epiroc, we realized that Epiroc is the company that we would like to be part of. And the big reason for us for that was because of the culture of the company, that they were the only company in the first session asking us about our culture, the people working in the business, And then the third one, the strategy that we had in the business, not just focusing on the technology, but the vision in that space. And yes, from the first of, you can say the first working day, the 3rd of May, we are now part of Epiroc. And we can say that it was the end of a 10-year journey and the start of the next 20 years within Epiroc or longer.
Well, that's a very long story, Peter, but it's also it shows that there was strategic intent. Things didn't just happen, MineRP, which I think, having had the privilege of sharing much of that journey, probably one of the things that makes the company stand out, and it gives the company something to work towards, that very clear strategy that it's always had. On that topic, Mikael, when people hear the word or the company name Epiroc, they're used to thinking of Epiroc as an equipment manufacturer, ground and a general mining equipment manufacturer, and not necessarily thinking digital isn't the first thing that comes to mind when we hear the word Epiroc. So don't you want to just tell us a little bit more about Epiroc's digital strategy, when it started, and how MineRP would fit into that world?
Yes, MP. And I mean, Epiroc and what we was called a couple of years back, Atlas Copco Mining and Rock Excavation. We also have a very long journey, a long history. We are a company today that is 148 years old, starting in the old mining regions in Sweden, and has been the machine and equipment supplier for all that time. And what is important with the company, we have been very driven by innovation since start. We have a number of world leading innovations that has changed our industry more or less every 10 or 20 years. You have a new groundbreaking innovation that comes into play. What has happened now the last 20, 30 years is that we have had a lot of innovation and drive in automation for these machines and equipments. Now, the latest 10 years, this automation has also now been complemented with digitalization. A lot of the data, a lot of the information from these machines that come into play with our customers. And we do it together with customers. We identify the needs and opportunities in using the data from the machines. And now what we have decided over the last couple of years is that we want to complement this. We want to grow this core from the machine, from the data of the machine, and now into the processes of the mine, and how we together with our customers can do a lot more with data and not just optimize the operations and the maintenance and the ownership of equipment, but also look at the full process of mining. For us to do that is a big step. It is. I mean, we are getting a little bit further away from our start of the company and the core of the company. And we thought very early that we need partners in this. Mm-hmm. And we've been looking at all kinds of opportunities now for the last couple of years. And when we had the chance to partner up and be an owner of MineRP, we saw immediately that this is a perfect fit for us. It will actually give us not just a product portfolio that is very, very interesting that MineRP has, but also a lot of colleagues with experience in this area, a lot of experience. So it's been a very, very exciting start, this partnership between Epiroc and MineRP.
Yeah, it's interesting that both you and Peter used the word data. That's kind of the lowest common denominator here, isn't it? That we've got to get a handle on that data in the mining industry. And of course, it's not only MineRP that generates data. So maybe one or both of you can comment a little bit about the openness of this new data world and to what extent Epiroc and then MineRP wants to be seen as an independent or open platform. Peter, maybe you can go first.
Thank you, MP. I mentioned earlier that when we changed the business model of MineRP, the big drive was data, and you just mentioned it again, and Mikael also mentioned the data side. The only way that we said that we can break down the silos within the science of mining environment was to build a platform to allow for certain things in this space. And we've got 5 things that was always for us critical in this platform to develop that. The first one was always the openness of the platform. And if you take a real platform, it needs to be open. The second one is to be technology agnostic. So that was a big drive. It's a very, very difficult environment to think you can go in and you can only make your systems the only way of creating the data in this space because of the years of applications already operating within this space. The third one is the interoperability side. We mentioned all these silos in those areas, and to get between the agnostic of different technologies that will operate in that space, to get that together in that space, you need to have an interoperability way of handling it in this space, and the platform is helping us on that. Collaboration, it's one of the outputs that you get from that. And then also the other outcome that you're getting from that is transparency. So for us, it's a critical thing to be open and to allow the mining industry to have a platform where they can get all their data in a single environment to see and view and take actions from that.
Mikael, it's not only about technology, it's about partnerships and all that. You mentioned that. What is Epiroc's approach to this OEM independent, technology independent, open kind of approach that Peter described there?
Yes, MP. You could easily think that for Epiroc, it's all about the Epiroc yellow steel and how we can build on that. But we see, and this is what we find when we work closely together with our customers, is that, of course, the normal mine is not only yellow. It's all kinds of colors and brands in a mine. And when we take this step now a little bit away from the machines, the equipment, and start looking at use and process, then it's all colors of the rainbow. So for us, it's been obvious from start that whatever we do, it has to be agnostic. It has to be open to all kinds of data formats, languages, technologies, and even looking at processes and types of equipment that we don't normally have in the Epiroc portfolio. So we left that part. We are now seeing ourselves as the team in Epiroc that is really much more than just Epiroc. We are the OEM agnostic team. Our 350 employees is looking at the full use, the full needs of any type of mining company, and it doesn't matter what brand. And it's not something we just came up to the last couple of years. It's been like that, I would say, since start of the century, when Epiroc, together with some partners, started something called iReadis. It's a way, it was at least 20 years back, a way to standardize formats of information and data transfers from machines so that our customers could use the same type of data format no matter where data came from. So we have been a supporter to this collaboration, this way of exchanging data since start, I would say.
MP, maybe just something from my side I would like to add to that. I mentioned the 5 things, and Mikael mentioned now what they were doing with partners. The MineRP strategy was always also to involve partners in this space and people that can use the platform to add more things to this environment for us in this space. You cannot do that just on your own. And the partner structure for us is also a critical part of that, to be the openness and transparent and all those new things, supporting the mining industry.
Fantastic. MP, I'm looking forward to talk to these 2 gentlemen again. I think we need to start bringing it to a close. I think there's much more that we need to talk about. Any last comments, Mikael, Pieter? Maybe I ask you, what do you think you would have come and talk about next on this podcast? Because I think there'll be a lot of interest with our listeners to this.
I can say that this thing with openness and partnerships is so important. And there is a very, very good example of this in the world today. You can imagine traveling around the world with one mobile phone per country that you need to visit, because every country has a different standard of how their mobile phone is working. I mean, that was the start in the early days of mobile phones. You had different standards everywhere.
Yes.
Now, the industry came together and said, let's have one standard that is a global standard. So now you can travel with your phone all around the globe and it works no matter where you come. And that was because the big ones in the mobile phone industry joined together and created this standard. And what happened? Well, the whole industry grew. So it is by collaboration and partnerships you can actually grow your industry and you can push forward, not alone.
I think the lessons learned in that industry, I assume that during those early days, there were also some of the equipment manufacturers for mobile phones that was resisting this.
Yes.
I'm thinking of a very specific brand which was saying, well, we will be the ones that lose this out. We are the ones that leading currently. We want to have our own standard because then we can secure our own future. And I think the same thing is happening to mining.
Correct.
Peter?
John, and just from my side, things that I think that we need to discuss going forward is we are now about 6 weeks in this new environment. We would like to discuss now that we are together, now that we are one in this space, what's the real value around data that we can unlock for mines going forward in this space. Value that we can unlock is tremendous. And I think this would be quite a nice topic to discuss going forward.
Yeah, very true. Let's schedule that. Let's draw this to a close. Mikael, what are you reading? What's on your bedside as we speak?
Yes, John. There is a Swedish writer named Hans Rosling. And he's written books about data and how you can look at data from trends and what happens in our society. The book he wrote is Factfulness. This is a very interesting book. I really recommend everyone to read that. But you should also look at his TED Talks. That guy is just amazing when he talks about data and what you can see in data. And this could be a really good reference and benchmark for all of us working in this industry, how we can use data to understand what's going on in our companies, in our operations.
Factfulness, it came up before on the podcast. A great year that I've not read it yet. Peter, on your side.
John, I think you know me for a long time. I'm not a big reader. And if I read something, it's something that I can take with me and make it part of my life going forward. One thing that was for me quite a big issue over the last number of months, building up to the end of this transaction with Epiroc, is following God's principle in a bottom line world. And for me, when I was doing some research on that and see what I can read about those things, one of my old books was one of my favorites that I had was God is My CEO. And just to restart again, and it's the second time I'm going through this book and seeing different things with the focus more on the impact on the bottom line world that we're operating in. You mentioned in the beginning, or you mentioned previously about capitalism and socialism and all those type of things and the different models in this environment. This is the one question that is always bogging me, and what I want to get some answers around that and how to handle that. So this is the book that I'm for the second time reading.
That's excellent. Before we close, I want to ask Peter. Peter, was this a hostile takeover?
John, yes, this is the right place. It wasn't a hostile takeover. We start off with this implementing the fourth pivot for us, October 2019. In 2020, we were hit by COVID. We all know that. And it was just a delay for us in this process. The plan was 10 years ago, by November 2020, we need to find the right home for us. In this process that we followed, there were 22 companies interested in MineRP, of which 20 was tier 1 companies. To make a selection and finding Epiroc for us was all part of the plan for us to implement on that. So I say again, it was because of the strategic drive that they had. It's in line what we want to do, and we can help them to achieve that, Epiroc. And then the second thing that was quite important for us was the people and the culture-driven company that they are in the business, and that's the right home for us to go forward. So it wasn't a hostile takeover.
Now I'll comment as an employee. I am extremely happy with the cultural match and with the interactions up to now. I am personally looking forward to this. MP, bring this to a close for us.
Yes, Peter and Michael, thank you very much for joining us. You've been great guests. We've learned a lot from you, and it's great to see how the vision from two companies can be such a great fit. Hopefully, you'll make some time for us very soon again, and we can continue to discuss these topics, and specifically the ones that you mentioned as well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.